This Twitch streamer named Trainwreck dropped a bombshell, and he claimed that he made $360 million gambling, which is so beyond crazy. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. If this is true, dude, you're almost halfway to like $1 billion in terms of like revenue, right? Now, obviously, this amount of money is for sure before taxes, but he probably has other different income streams or has had different income streams other than this gambling one. So he probably actually in total got really close to the half a billion mark, if this is true. Which is so beyond crazy. Like the amount of money that some people can make nowadays blows my mind, right? There's so many people struggling to make more than their like paycheck to paycheck kind of living situation, and yet you have individuals like this where all they do is basically like live stream, kind of like creating their own show online, basically costing them no money, and are able to generate so much revenue. So Twitch streamer Trainwreck made waves in the Twitch communities that are still reeling from the negative impact of gambling streams by stating that he had made $360 million from gambling streams on the platform. Now, here's the thing, some people might have like different moral viewpoints on gambling. The biggest issue with gambling is that it's extremely addictive combined with a very bad financial decision, right? For example, if you have like an excess cash amount of, I don't know, like let's say like 20 to like $100 per week. Like excess cash meaning you could lose that money and it literally not affect your life at all. After, saving money, spending for your living expenses, doing investing, all that kind of stuff, right? You get an excess of 20 to $100 per week. Okay. If you were to go like spend that on like playing poker, doing lottery tickets, literally doing whatever you want to spend your money on, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because it's excess cash. The problem when it comes to gambling is that once you become addicted to gambling, which is very common to happen to people because of just the way gambling is designed, you end up start spending money that is not in that excess category. You start spending money that you need for other things. Like instead of investing now, you start putting more money towards gambling. Instead of saving money now you're putting that money towards gambling. Instead of your basic living expenses, now you put that money to gambling. Now you're living on credit cards and personal loans and bank loans, and you're even stealing from people to make more money, to try to make money by gambling because you're able to, in your mind, think that, oh, if I spend, like, if I get $1,000 from this one person, I can go gamble and double the money and pay that person back and pocket $1,000. That's not what's going to happen. That is not going to happen. But a lot of people go through that process when they get addicted to gambling. And it is extremely easy for quite literally anyone to get down into the category of gambling addiction just because of how easy it is to, one, get involved with it, two, how much it basically turns into a habitual thing once you start. So $22 million per month. The most popular platform for video game streaming, Twitch, officially announced a ban on unregulated gambling sites, ousting sites like Stake, which I believe sponsored him, Rollbit, or Rubit, and Dualbits contracted with many streamers. But the bombshell statement made by Trainwreck is about to bring up the subject of gambling streams again. A popular content creator on the streaming platform himself, Trainwreck, claimed while playing a game of Overwatch 2 on a live stream with Poke Laws on October 19th that he made $360 million in the 16 months since he had signed a contract with crypto gambling site Stake to stream gambling content. Now, the saddest thing about this situation, right, is like it's cool to see someone make this type of money, but what a lot of these gambling contracts tend to be like is that they tend to get bonuses, basically kickbacks, typically from the losses of the people that they brought on there, right? I believe he is one of the top Twitch streamers on the platform. So I don't know, like let's just say he has like, let's say that he has like fans of like, I don't know, like a million people, right? If a very small percentage of the million people that follow him, that watch him, that know him, all that kind of stuff, get involved into his sponsorship, into his sponsored gambling website, and they start losing money, some of those people are going to get into the addicted category and will end up losing a lot of money. Potentially more money than they've ever made in their life. Potentially so bad so that they might actually be in debt to those gambling websites, which is very scary because those are crypto, unregulated casino websites. So that could end who knows how. And like people need to understand this, right? Even though that you're not necessarily responsible for what your audience does, where do you draw the line where you end up directly benefiting from potentially the losses of your fans, right? Because will those fans still like you? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it all depends on how you promoted the gambling website, right? I've never watched a Trainwreck stream, but if he's never really talked favorably about gambling, if he's never really talked favorably about, you know, oh yeah, you should totally go gamble all of your money away kind of thing, right? And like a serious tone, not like a joking tone, then it could be, it might be something where he would have to like take a step back. It's like, hey, have I been screwing my fans kind of thing? Maybe not, right? Like maybe he hasn't. Maybe that's not the way that he viewed it or portrayed his relationship with his sponsored gambling website thing. My thing is like, it'd just be sad if you were to create basically this massive fan base and then some of your fans end up getting directly harmed by your sponsor. Like that would suck, right? Like that would just personally suck, right? Like if I were to build like a massive audience and a portion of those people were to like lose all of their life savings or more due to like a product or service that I was promoting, that would make me pretty sad, right? Like, oh man, like that really sucks, right? Now, I don't know how anyone would actually like react in that situation, but I can see how it would get kind of weird between him and his fans if some of his fans did actually lose all of their money or more than all of their money. But again, technically speaking, he is not responsible for the actions of his fans. Da, 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 da. His claims sparked confusion among viewers, and some of them openly expressed their disbelief that the statement was correct, while others wondered whether the quoted sum included the amounts wagered and lost or money locked on the gambling site as credit. The thing is, let's just say that is true, right? Let's just assume that is true. This amount of money is true. I can see it where they actually paid him blatantly outright the $360 million. I can see it as a possibility. Meaning, all the money that he used within the whole casino wasn't actually either real money or money that was used for his paycheck, right? It was probably just money that was like, hey, use this money. If you do happen to win any money from this, we'll get you a portion of that, or you get to keep the winnings or whatever. But basically, just use this money to keep playing with it on our site. And we're going to keep on funding you more and more and more so that you can play. Now, I don't know what his contract is, but either way, kind of an interesting thing. So Trainwreck's claim does not align with the gambling record of another popular streamer, XQC, who also streamed gambling sessions but for over $500 million in wagers. His winnings, as opposed to his losses, were just under 11%. XQC admitted last month that streaming gambling was wrong, but he would not backtrack on his view on this subject. Interesting. Moral responsibility to viewers. So the debate on the pros and cons of gambling streams among Twitch streamers heated last month after several popular streamers expressed their views that gambling streams are detrimental to viewers, and especially minors who are being exposed to gambling. And that is potentially all true, right? But you also got to keep in mind on this platform, they quite literally have basically ladies that are pretty much wearing nothing live streaming, right? So how can you judge one moral aspect but not another one the same? Right? Like, does that make sense? Like, you're putting a big strain on gambling, but you're not having like a really big, hubbub about some chick getting like her cheeks clapped on live stream, right? Hey, like if you really did care about, your viewers and exposing them to stuff, wouldn't you punish both sides? Like, it seems kind of odd, right? So Pokimane was among the latest to take aim at gambling streamers after a month-long break from social media, placing in her crosshairs Drake and his exorbitant crypto bets on stake, arguing whether he was aware of where the money stake gave him to gamble with came from an attempt to throw light on gambling sponsorships. Now the thing that I have issues again with like some ladies is like, now I don't know how often I believe Pokimane or whatever does it, but a lot of the big female streamers, which I believe she is female, are popular due to their fans wanting to do stuff with them. Basically, simping for these female streamers, mainly because they tend to see things on these streams that are questionably in a gray moral zone. So Pokemon was soon followed by Matthew Mizkiff Renato, who was provoked by the news that another prominent streamer on Twitch, Slicker, resorted to scamming his viewers out of money to fuel his gambling addiction and vented his frustration at the platform, asking for a ban on gambling content. Now, this is also an interesting thing, too, right? Because I do believe that not too long ago, Mizkif and I think even Pokemon and all these other people basically got involved into a pretty potentially very serious legal issue of a very bad nature. And it's like, here's the thing that people need to understand. A lot of these people that you end up like looking up to or like you see are making so much money and all that kind of stuff, right? May not necessarily be good people, right? Morally, ethically, whatever. They might be, I don't know, but they also might not be. So just keep that in mind. Like, don't put any of these influencers on a pedestal. Just be like, oh, do you like their content? Okay, enjoy their content. Keep it like that, right? Don't like view them as like some god or something. So the decision by Twitch to ban unregulated gambling sites divided streamers, and while some saw the ban as a positive step, others like Trainwreck called it hypocritical to ban casino gaming while keeping poker or sports betting content. Now, I definitely somewhat agree with that, right? Now, poker is more of a skill game kind of similar to chess, right? I wouldn't really put that in the same category necessarily as just pure casino gambling, right? Now, if you ban like casino gambling, I do also kind of believe that you should, you know, get rid of potentially sports betting, but I guess it kind of like depends on the sports as well, because obviously some have like better odds than others, and some people could maybe figure out that kind of system out, or maybe because they just have a better understanding on the teams, the histories, all that kind of stuff. So it potentially takes more skill. The problem with casino gambling is that like it is pure chance, no skill involved at all. You just press a button, ooh, money or not, right? And it's basically similar to the same thing as like lottery scratch off tickets, right? You probably should never have lottery scratch off tickets in like schools, for example. That would be a pretty bad situation. Just something to really think about, right? And if you stumble upon this, feel free to give your own thoughts, right? My viewpoint is if you're out of debt, if you have money in the bank for like an emergency fund, you have money in investing, right? And you have excess cash that you are 100% okay with losing, then go ahead and lose that money if that's what you want to do, right? Just be very careful, and maybe you need to have like an accountability person to basically tell you if you go to an extreme of gambling, right? Basically, someone, it could be a family member or a friend that is going to be completely honest with you and that you trust their word and their words that come out of their mouth. Like to the point where like you respect them so much that like if they tell you to stop doing something, you'll stop. Period. Cold turkey. And you have them basically say like, "Hey," you basically ask them, "If you see me spending more than maybe this amount of money, or if you see me spending more money, like that's like a outlier, tell me to stop right then and there so that I can stop. So that I can like be brought to the attention like, hey, I'm starting to get a problem with this. Because this is something that could like just slowly creep into being a habit to then basically becoming an addiction. It's something that you just got to be very, very careful with. And that's basically any form of gambling. And here's the thing, I personally don't really have anything against Trainwreck making this type of money. It's just there does come with like an understanding like, hey, do I feel bad that some of my fans might have lost all of their money due to the sponsorship that I had and that I promoted? So even though I didn't necessarily directly cause them to lose their money, I did have an indirect effect that did lead them down the path of potentially losing all of their money. It's just something to really think about.